War in Ukraine looms, of course, over this G7. What exactly is top of the agenda?
Yes, Francine, and this is entirely a meeting. And by the way, I believe there's a leader flying and hovering over our heads right now, going into the mountains where, of course, have been gathering now for 2 days. And a lot of this dominated by the war in Ukraine, particularly after the shelling of the Ukrainian capital just hours before the meeting starting. Now, Francine, in terms of the communique, we are expecting today that G7 leaders will say, they will reiterate, there will be, quote, open-ended support for Ukraine on the military aspect, on the economic, but of course also too when it comes to potentially more sanctions on the Russian Federation as long as the war continues. The other big sticking point, and that is unclear whether there'll be an agreement by the end of the session, is that cap on oil prices. For G7 leaders gathered here, they recognize that it is very politically difficult, toxic, and hard to stomach the kind of revenue that Vladimir Putin is making as a result of the tight supply in the market, but also some of the second round effects of sanctions. And they talk about a price cap on Russian oil. But this is a very technical discussion, as you know. It is very hard to implement in real life. And they also worry about some of the big buyers right now, like India. Will they side on this big coalition? This is the most active discussion going on, but it's not clear whether an agreement will be reached.
So, Maria, you mentioned energy. How much of a discussion is, of course, about this price cap on Russian oil? And will all of the leaders agree on this?
Yeah, and you know, this is an idea, Francine, as you know very well, that has been pitched a number of times by the United States. The Germans at the beginning, they weren't very convinced by it. Yesterday, the French say, quote, they don't oppose it at this stage. The Italians are incredibly vocal about the fact that you have to cap it. You have to put a ceiling on it. So there is some political momentum going into this. The fact that you have emerging markets like India, South Africa also participating on this could give it a much wider global momentum too, but they also recognize the implementation could be very difficult. The other big issue too, Francine, has to do with the gas story. The oil is seen as a moneymaker, but gas is a geopolitical weapon. There's a lot of concerns, of course, about Vladimir Putin unilaterally cutting off supplies from now until the end of the year, perhaps trying to sabotage the storage for European countries. Remember, they have been given a deadline. By November, they have to get their storage full so they're able to weather the winter, but it's unclear whether unilateral moves from Russia could put an issue on that and could threaten that.